Robot umpires are coming for your balls and strikes.
You want to make sure that the calls are right. In this case, MLB is literally trying to make balls and strikes perfect.
Robot umpires are coming, and they're coming soon, it seems, because they are already at the AAA level calling balls and strikes. What does this mean for the game?
I'm torn, actually. I'm torn. I like the idea because there's umpires out there that like the famous Angel Hernandez, who everybody completely hates in regards to his calling on the field. He's a really bad umpire, makes a lot of mistake calls, and seems to never get in trouble because he always gets important games and messes up. When you're on the field, you want to make sure, especially when you're in a tight game or whatever, you want to make sure that the calls are right, the balls and strikes are right, everything's right, and in a weird way, they say nothing could be perfect, but in this case, MLB is literally trying to make balls and strikes perfect with the automated technology. So that's the good thing about it. And I'm sure when MLB announced that they started to do instant replays, remember that a few years back, people were in uproar. It was crazy. You're changing the game. Now we're kind of used to the replays. We like the replays when it helps our team, right? When it benefits our team, not when it hurts them. So this may be something that we could adapt to overall and be good for the game. But that's the good thing I like about it. The bad thing, the things I don't like about it is simply fans like to heckle the umpire. They want to, boo the umpire, you suck or whatever it is. But now literally the umpire's just there to report what he's hearing in his earpiece, strike or ball. So why are you yelling at the umpire now if it's just a robot? So it kind of kills the excitement, the part of the baseball that we all grew to know and love, because as much as the truth is that you need the audience and you need the fans there to make the game what it is. So I don't have a good answer. I'm torn. I like the idea because I want real balls and strikes and no mistakes. But then again, when we're taking the human element out, we're trying to AI's taking our lives over, and this is another example of that.
Let's go over some of the details with these robot umpires, courtesy of SI.com. You could see that these robot umpires were deployed at all the AAA ballparks last year, 2023, to call balls and strikes. This is called the automated balls and strikes system. Very fancy. So it's the ABS system. And as you could see here, what they're looking to do is basically implement this thing. And they've been doing this at the different levels of the minor league system since 2019. But last year was the first time they actually deployed this thing in all the games. So this is coming fast. It's starting to move up the ranks to the point where they used it in all the AAA games. They're using it, or testing it rather, last year in two different ways. Half of the games were played with all the calls determined by this electronic strike zone. And then they did another experiment where the other half of the games, they did an ABS challenge system that allows the teams 3 challenges per game, with them teams retaining the challenges if they're successful. As per the report, there is no timeline to use this technology at the MLB level, and the data collected in 2023 will inform, quote unquote, future choices. So just to put this into visual perspective, right? You kind of envision, at least when I first heard of this, like some sort of a robot behind the umpire. But to what you said, they're going to basically be wearing AirPods above the bleachers. There's going to be these fancy cameras that are actually the ones that are recording the data and calling whether these are balls and strikes. And all of the information that goes into it with the fancy AI is figuring out basically what is the height dependent on that particular batter. So we always talk about how, like, for example, Jose Altuve and Aaron Judge's strike zone shouldn't really be the same. And this AI is supposedly as accurate as can be to adjust for player's height to make sure that it is accounting for their strike zone. So that is something that is really unique and cool about it. And I would say does take the game to another level, because a lot of the strike zone sometimes with umpires today is subjective. So knowing all of that, I think is just a matter of them figuring out and fine tuning every little detail that they want to fine tune to essentially get it to a point where the fans are okay with embracing it, like, because the game has never seen anything like this in terms of changes. You talk, pitch clock, your base is getting a little bit larger, but balls and strikes are the core of the game. That is, every single pitch goes past home plate. So that really impacts a game probably more than any other decision. And it happens the most frequently. There's hundreds of pitches a game. So you have to think that this is going to somewhat enhance it. To your point, the downsides can also be the human element. Does it make it as exciting if we know that every single time that pitch is going to be 100% accurate? Is this ultimately a good thing for the game? And of course, it's going to have some positive benefits to our game of baseball that we love in terms of accuracy, but that human element, we're going to be losing a lot of that human element with this, and that unknown. You have that borderline call, you have the one that the umpire does expand the strike zone just a little bit, which makes it interesting. And to me, it's going to be interesting how the MLB introduces this to appease the fans, appease the players without there being this crazy uproar, because there's also going to be some really heavy games on the line. And one thing I feel like with MLB fans is sometimes, even with this being, say, extremely accurate to a point where it might be 99% accurate or even more than that, there's still going to be people that are upset with the calls that are made, right?
Yeah, 100%. You're not going to be able to, you can't change someone's emotions or views on a call, even if the call is 99.9% accurate. Again, out of all sports fans, I think baseball fans are the most rigid, where they don't want change. We've seen that because from the 1800s baseball, it's been so long. But there's something interesting I just thought about right now, but this is probably just the wacky side in me. With all technology, you could technically hack technology too. So then what happens if balls and strikes start getting hacked, and then, someone's playing in the background with a computer, and the pitch was a strike, and someone figured out a way to say ball, like crazy stuff like that. That's just me thinking out of the park. With all technology comes risk too. So I'm sure they've thought about this stuff right now. I didn't just figure it out in this YouTube video. Overall, I again, like I said in the beginning of this video, I'm torn. I like the idea, but I'm gonna definitely, if they do implement it for like full time, I'm gonna miss the back and forth that the fans have with the umpires too. And this is also gonna really kill sports talk. All these channels, like if a game ends in a questionable call in the playoffs or something, that's what they lead with. These big networks, that's something to talk about. Now you really can't argue the call. What are you going to argue? That the AI was wrong and stuff? But that's supposed to be 100%. So there's just a lot of stuff that could come out with this, but I'm torn. I'm 50-50. I can't give you a definite answer right now.
One final thought on this whole situation. With all these cameras, we saw them, how they were positioned above the bleachers. Are we looking at future 10 years, 15, 20 years where we don't have any umpires on the field? If you have enough cameras all over the park, it knows the dimensions, it knows the bag, it knows, you can put a little sensor in the bag in terms of like when the ball hit the glove based on cameras, and the person's out, the tag is here. I think you're getting to this point where technology is evolving, and do we even need umpires on the field? Can every call on a baseball field get to a point where it's 100% accurate and you never have any sort of subjectivity in the game of baseball, and it's completely wiped out? Is that a good thing or a bad thing for the game?
The MLB probably likes that. They could save a lot of money off umpires.
So you let us know in the comments, are robot umpires going to be a good or bad thing for the game of baseball?